got a mess back here. But I've been working to clean it up. So.
Well, how much you pay for these little gems of wisdom here, huh?
Paid about $14.95, sent off for it. Been worth every penny of it.
$14.95.
It is what it is. This is a working ranch with everyone that works this ranch also has a town job, as we like to call it. I've been thinking a little bit about this channel. You know, I've really got more active in it lately. And it was just kind of like a vlog. Let's do this day in the life of stuff. And it's fun, and it's, you know, been working. I would like to see what we can make of this thing. You know, we're growing slow and steady. That's how I do anything. Anybody that's been in this ranching and farming industry for any amount of time knows that slow and steady wins the race. That's one thing I have learned over my time, 49 years of being on this same piece of property. And it's that slow and steady wins the race. So kind of in that reflection, you know, I thought, what can we do? What are we good at? So what can we do that we're good at to put out to the world? And you know, we're good at a lot of things, great at a few, and mediocre at best. You know, I thought about, well, let's make this like a ranch fix type of channel. We'll go around, we'll show how to fix some fence, make some repairs, you know, hanging gates, you know, things like that. And I think that will probably, there'll be some of that mixed in this channel in the long run. But I think we could do more. I think we could be more. I think we could show more. I think it would be more real if we actually talked about what it looks like to run this place and also work in town. I still have to have a job in town. My wife works a job in town. And Ford, our son, who you see in the videos, he works a job in town. And our daughter, Kennedy, she's in college right now. She lives on campus, so she's not here every day. So right now, it's mainly consisting of myself, my son, and then my wife. With Grandpa helping as he can, you know, he still tries to get out and do things, but he doesn't get around like he used to. You know, up until last year, maybe the year before, he was involved in everything. I mean, he was still in the hayfield every year. He was still feeding cows every winter, you know, choring every day with us. And if you go back to some of those older videos from like 2020 or whatever it was, he's in those because he was doing it every day. So with all that, we've got to figure out how to run this place while working jobs in town. You know, this place isn't large by any means. It's a modest-sized ranch. There are much larger ranches around here. But it's enough to be a full-time job. I mean, if this place was taken care of perfectly to the T like it should be, it should have a couple people working here every day as their full-time job. That's trimming fence lines, fixing fence, putting up cross fences, keeping ponds maintained. We've got some ponds out here that have some damage from beavers and muskrats. We've got to get on, or we're going to end up losing those ponds. And we can't do that. That cannot happen. We have to get those things fixed. This could really be a full-time job for a couple of people, but we have to figure out how to do that while working jobs in town that are demanding. I'm a licensed alcohol, drug counselor, mental health professional. You know, those are demanding jobs. Take up a lot of time, a lot of mental energy. You know, when you come home from a job like that, with working with people in addictions or just mental health problems, you're drained. Your brain is kind of, sometimes you just come home and your brain's done. Like, it just wants to shut down, but you can't. Because you've got to come home and you got to take care of these animals because we've been tasked with that responsibility. And for everybody that lives on this property, that is a major responsibility. That's the biggest responsibility. Is when you're tasked with taking care of animals that can't take care of themselves, you have to hold yourself to a higher standard to take care of them, to feed them, to make sure they've got water, to make sure they've got all the medications they need, all the stuff. What I am proposing is kind of focus this channel more on what it takes to have a town job and also take care of this place. Now, I've not seen a channel solely dedicated to that. You know, we can focus on what it takes to work a town job, how to dedicate your time, what you can kind of, put off until the weekends, what you can't, how we structure our day. You got to get up in the morning, you got to go do chores, you got to come back, you got to get ready for work, you go to work. Lunchtime, you're checking in, you're calling the grandparents, you're texting your kid about, okay, what's this going to look like after work? Are you going to get up early? Am I going to be able to get out early? That's a daily thing. We're very fortunate that our son is as dedicated as we are to working this property. If it wasn't for him, it would be exponentially harder for me to get this all done. And I appreciate him so much. This place is between his house and where he works. So when he gets off work, most days he's able to stop and start feeding. Start putting out hay, start putting out cubes, feeding the horses, feeding the calf if we have one at the time, which we've got one right now, as you guys have seen. We've had them in the past and we'll have more. This channel will be more focused on that. Because a lot of times even when I'm watching some of these other big channels, I'm intimidated. I'm like, oh, well, we could never do that. I think people in similar circumstances to what we're in, because they're out there, man. They're all around us. People that are running cows, people that are working town jobs, dividing their time, and how do you do that and what that looks like. But that's kind of my thoughts. I'm thinking, let's structure this channel in a way that we can help somebody that may be going to be able to purchase some land and they want to have a few calves, raise a few cows or a few butcher calves, whatever that is. Maybe we can be somebody that can show them, hey, this can be done. And then maybe we can show them how to fix some things. We don't have all the big fancy equipment and all the tools that we could ever want or need. We have to get by, we make do. I'm very thankful for being raised by my grandpa, who was born in 1929, and he knows how to get by. He knows what to do to get by, how to make tools, what you can use to do this, how to fix if you're out checking fence and you got a broken wire and you don't have a fence stretcher in your truck, but you have a claw hammer and some baling wire. Hey, we can show you how to fix that wire with stretching it out with a claw hammer and some baling wire, stretching those wires back together, getting them good to go until you can get in there and make the permanent fix. We're good at that stuff. I enjoy that stuff. So I think we could really find a place there. All that said, let's see what happens. I thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing, liking, sharing, all that stuff. If it wasn't for you, I don't know. I may still be doing this. I may not. But just to see the channel grow the little bit that it has and know, hey, there's these people out there that like what we're doing, like the talk on ethics, and how we do things around here, and how if you don't do them that way, that's fine too. We all have to find our way with these issues. So if it wasn't for you guys, I don't know that I would be doing this. But just knowing that there's people out there that want some different perspective, they want to see the animals, and not everybody can do this stuff, right? There's people out there, there may be some of you living in apartments or wherever that it's just not possible, but this is your way to engage with agriculture. And I love that. Anytime I can get somebody to engage in agriculture, even if it's sitting in your apartment watching me on YouTube, that's a win for the whole industry. That's somebody taking the time out of their day to watch what we're doing, to see how this industry works. That's a big deal. Let's see where this thing goes. Thanks for watching.